Now to other news, and more than 11,000 job losses have been announced in the UK in the last 24 hours. They've been blamed on the devastating impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the British economy. Unions have accused the UK government of sitting on the sidelines, but the Prime Minister Boris Johnson said although the risk to jobs is very, very serious, the government had taken action to protect the jobs of 11 million people. Well, among the 11,000 job cuts, the world's largest aircraft manufacturer, Airbus, says it plans to cut 1,700 from its UK workforce, and thousands more will also go in Germany, Spain and elsewhere. And the department store Harrods has said it will cut 700 jobs, more than a seventh of its workforce. Our business editor Simon Jack has this report.
Airlines, manufacturers, retail. The damage is deep and wide and seems to be getting worse by the day or even by the hour. The announcements of job losses are coming thick and fast. At the Airbus factory in Broughton, there was a sombre mood as people digested yesterday's announcement that 1,700 UK jobs will be going.
It's going to be a great shame to a lot of people. I've got family members who live here, so everybody, everywhere's going to be impacted.
I don't know, it's a big part of the community. It's obviously one of the main sources of jobs around here. So obviously if it goes, it does take a big impact on the community.
And that's why these painful decisions...
The chairman of Airbus UK said its customers were facing a crisis that would leave lasting damage, and Airbus had to ensure its own survival.
Look into the sky. I mean, this is the tourism industry. Our bloodline are airlines. Those are our customers. And, you know, if they catch a cold, we're obviously in the same situation. So this is unprecedented, and we want to be there for the recovery. So we have to cut our cloth according to our means, and it's tough, but we've got to do it. It's the right thing to do.
Today in Parliament, the leader of the opposition confronted the Prime Minister with a grim roll call that hours later is already out of date.
Airbus announced 1,700 job losses, EasyJet 1,300 job losses, TM Lewin and Harvest 800 job losses. That's just yesterday.
The Prime Minister defended the government response, pointing to a job retention scheme unprecedented in its scope and cost, but conceded some very tough times lay ahead.
We've supported huge sectors of the UK economy at a cost of £120 billion. And I'm not going to give a figure for the number of job losses that may or may not take place, but of course the risk is very, very serious, as he rightly says.
A month from today, employers will have to start paying an increasing portion of that cost until the scheme is withdrawn at the end of October. One reason perhaps why job losses are picking up pace. There's been a seismic economic shock to the global economy, and these job losses are like waves crashing now on UK shores with alarming severity and frequency. The government spent tens of billions of pounds trying to delay this inevitability, but with this flood of new announcements, it's clear they're struggling to hold back the tide. With fewer people getting on planes and trains, those stalwarts of airports and stations, Upper Crust and Cafe Ritaza, cut 5,000 posts. The government has already spent tens of billions on keeping dying businesses alive. The Chancellor's focus will now shift from trying to sustain jobs that may no longer exist to trying to create brand new ones. Simon Jack, BBC News.
Well, let's discuss this a little more with the retail analyst Natalie Berg, who joins us from South East London. Welcome here to the programme. We saw in that report the Prime Minister wouldn't put a number of jobs potentially he thought could go. What is your assessment? How alarming is this?
Well, it is, of course, very sad, but unfortunately not unexpected. We have to remember that when looking specifically at the retail sector has been facing profound structural changes. So last year, the retail sector faced its worst year on record. So sales were actually in decline. We saw unprecedented levels of job losses, retailers going into administration. And I think we did, even before the pandemic hit, we were bracing ourselves for more doom and gloom this year because, you know, the consumer has changed drastically over the past 5 to 10 years. We're spending more online. More recently, we've been concerned about Brexit, which has led to economic and political uncertainty. So, because I think consumers were tightening their belts a bit there. And also, there's more of a broader shift away from spending on stuff, on material goods, as consumers look to spend on experiences, such as going out to eat or going to the pub. So there's a lot of shifts happening. It really was the perfect storm. And I think, unfortunately, the pandemic has just exacerbated what is already quite a difficult situation.
Exacerbated how much, though? What is your best guess? Because are we just at the very start of this process? We're going to get the end of the furlough scheme. So many businesses up and down the country will have to make an assessment. Have they got business to actually go forward after all of this?
Well, I think things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. We've already heard today from John Lewis, who said they won't be reopening all their stores. We heard from Harrods, who of course is very reliant on international visitors, that they're looking to cut jobs in their main store in central London. Just yesterday, we heard from TM Lewin that they're actually closing all their shops and they'll be trading online. So I think a lot of retailers are really looking to pivot and focus more on online operations. I think the big challenge for retailers is that with social distancing measures in place, it's very, very difficult they're not going to trade at full capacity. They're looking at anywhere from trading at between 30 to 70% capacity, but the cost structure hasn't changed. So ultimately, and unfortunately, we are going to continue to see more retailers look to close stores and cut costs where possible.
Well, a very gloomy assessment, and of course an assessment that's not just specific here to the UK, but absolutely globally, as we were hearing there in our introduction. Natalie Berg, thanks very much for that analysis. Thank you.